Being as it's 7 o'clock, I will call the September 20th meeting of the Ossipee Planning Board to order. We'll have the roll call of the board. Connie, Bob Gillette, absent. Bruce? Here. Roy? Yep. Dennis? Yep. Frank? Here. Keith here. And Rick St. Jean, alternate, is here. I will raise him to voting status in place of Bob Gillette. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes of the 6th of September? If you have, I'll accept the motion.
I'll make it.
Okay, Roy makes the motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Rick. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as is. Okay. Any opposed? No. Was there anybody that would abstain from the vote?
Me, I had to. I wasn't here.
Okay, good enough. All right, on the unsatisfied conditions, things are moving along with that. There's still some items pending. There's one for the Dollar General. We did receive a letter from the fire chief. Conditional. Yes. Under informal discussion, we have Mitch Yates, White Horse Addiction Center, wanting to buy the house at 35 Route 16B and move the beds to this location. They will keep the current location at 16B and on the corner of 25. Is there anyone here for the case?
I'm here.
Okay, would you please present it?
Yes, my name is Mitch Yetton. I run the White Horse Addiction Center. It's 68 and 70 Route 16B. Currently we operate there. We have a residential building that we haven't turned into residence yet, that we just secured approval from the state to begin licensing and to get that ready. While that process was taking place, the opportunity to get 35 came up. 35 Route 16B used to be a rehab center. It was also a nursing home at one time. That facility, the inside, has been upgraded significantly. It's got all the fire equipment, all the stuff we need. We brought the state fire marshal into that location, along with Chief Brownell. We brought a code consultant. The code person is the guy that works with our architect that interfaces with the state. So we use an architect to do all the drawings for us. This code person comes in and helps him with that process through the licensing process. So we went through the facility. After touring the facility, the conclusion by the fire marshal and everybody that was there was it would be the ideal place to do the residential piece versus the facility we're in. The facility at 70 needs to have a sprinkler system put into it and a fire system, as well as the other work that needs to be done there. That work, just the sprinkler system and the fire alone, is about $25,000 in that facility. So their recommendation was we'd be better to spend the money down the road to do any of the work we had to do there. So what we like to do is take the 70 building, where we have the current exception, turn that into administrative offices. Our volume in our work has grown significantly since we originally were here. I gave you a few things on the bottom, but we see about 70 clients off and on. A majority are from this area in Ossipee. Most of them are. And along with about 200 of their family members that we do work with there. In addition to that, we've opened a thrift store, and that thrift store has done really well. We support a lot of the community. We have people coming in that are either sent by churches or just in need. We've given I can't tell you how much for clothing and things like that away at that location. So that location really suits us very well and is done well. We just need to expand. We're kind of bursting at the seams, not just at the store, but just with, we've brought on more counselors. We have more LADACs we've brought in, and we just need office space to put them in to be able to do the work that we're doing. So we'd like to keep some offices there and also move them to the front. We'd like to be able to look at purchasing 35, but 35 is in the same situation that 70 was. It's in an area that would need an exception to, at least that's my understanding, an exception to run a group home there again. So I guess what I'm here for is just the informal discussion. What do we need to do, and would you see any objection to trying to move forward in that? So if we went forward to purchase that building, we would like to try to get that same exception, and instead of running the exception out of 70, running it out of 35. So I guess that's my question for you.
Before I go to the board, I'd like to state that this is an informal discussion, and any conversation here is non-binding on either party.
Right.
Does anyone at the board have any questions, inputs, comments?
Which one is 35?
35 is the yellow one on, go down 16B, there's the mill, the shutter mill. Across the street's a big yellow facility, river right there. It's that one. Right, I can't remember.
One on the corner,
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Any other questions from the board?
That was already a group home?
It has been a group home. It's not now. I checked and I went to the state to see if it was still licensed as such. That license expired under what used to be called the St. Jude home.
Was there a site plan for a group home?
Yeah, I'm assuming there had to have been, but no one can seem to find it.
We did it 6, 7 years ago, maybe 8.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Might have been the year you were out.
Yeah, there was a site plan. They had all that stuff done. The state acknowledged it.
That was
But
7 or 8 years ago. It was in there 3 or 4 years, I think. I don't remember exactly when now, but I remember it went through here back quite a while ago.
Yeah. It originally, I think, had been a nursing home.
Yep.
Are you going to make any changes to the
Was the guy who went to
structure
jail?
itself
No.
outside?
You got it.
No, nothing will change. We'll finish putting the siding. There's some work that needs to be done to get it dressed back up outside, but we'll just maintain that. So the only thing the fire marshal did ask for is there's a deck off the second floor. Is he asked that we put a stairway down off that deck. Is a second point of egress off the upper floors. So that was all that they were requiring. But outside of that, the rest of the house, really not even much of changes inside. That was the beauty of the place, is it's as close to turnkey for this type of operation as you're going to get.
Any other questions?
No, I think you've got probably a pretty good idea. Maybe ahead of the game a long way.
Yeah, we would be able to get beds in there much faster than at 70.
Yep.
Just the sheer amount of work we got to do in that building.
Is there, I'll pose it to the board right now. Is there anyone from the public who would like to make any comment or ask any questions? If not, I'll pose it to the public.
Curiosity question.
Yes.
If it was already a rehab and it's not zoned for rehab, wouldn't the previous rehab have a variance? You just said it was in the wrong zone.
Well, I'm just making that assumption that it's in the same area that 70 is. It's just down the street. And I think we looked it up, and that area still shows as no group home. But I don't know what it was when St. Jude originally went in. If anything changed after that to change
Well,
that.
to change it, you don't come to us.
Yeah.
To change it, you got to go to the planning, zoning board to get a variance. And if they've already given one for that property, is it still good?
They'd have to check with them, but I think they did give one.
I don't see why it would change. Yeah, that's what I think. Stays with the property.
The variance goes with the property.
Yeah.
So whatever the property.
Right, somebody's
is,
gotta look
or
it up to
owns,
see
who
if you
owns
had a
it.
variance.
So I
If you
gotta
had a
get back to
variance,
the
then you
zoning
can
board.
skip the zoning board.
Okay.
And now it comes down to us, what about us with the site plan? We gave them a site plan review before, is that site plan still good for that property, or has it been more than a year, or whatever we want to say to not? So he's gotta come in for another site plan.
Just review it, wouldn't we?
Pardon me?
Just review it, wouldn't we? Go through the old one, make sure.
No,
it's
he's got
up to date.
changes, the fireman wants changes and stuff.
Any changes listed and should be.
Yeah,
okay.
it's just the front steps, that would be the only change.
Just dig up the old site plan, update it, bring it in.
Don, you got any comments on that? All right, Connie said he has to submit a site plan.
Yeah, but you resubmit the old one.
Yeah,
update it.
well, sure.
That's why you said.
But he's still gonna have the hearing.
Yeah, you're gonna have to have a
Oh,
hearing.
yeah, I got it here, we go
It's gonna happen.
resubmit. I said resubmit, that's it.
Yeah, which is resubmittal, you have to go through the hearing process.
So I would go to the zoning group, try to get the site plan back.
It's already had a variance, you're okay. You just gotta update your site plan,
Okay.
bring it in, we'll have to rehear it.
Okay,
But make sure you get a variance.
okay.
But the
It
variance
should be on
is the
record in
problem.
the full, in the bottom, the
I'll
original.
have to pull the tax map and stuff to find
All
out.
right.
That's what,
So I come back here to try to chase down the site plan?
Yes.
yeah. Contact me, because I'm gonna have to pull the file to see
Okay.
if the variance is there, and what the previous site plan
Okay,
might have been on it. so.
all right.
It should be a clear, because it was a whole new thing done 7 or 8 years ago. I remember it. They used to, when the dam was raised, they used to swim over there, everything, across the street. But, it was there 2 or 3 years, not that long ago.
Well, it might take me a day or two to find the
Yeah.
file because of the file systems.
Oh, yeah. Glad it's you,
Working
not
on
me.
it.
What are you insinuating?
All right.
I'm not insinuating anything.
Any other questions then for me? That answers some of my questions.
Yeah, if you could work with Laura and find the variance and or the site plan and the variance, whichever happened,
Okay,
and then she could suggest which way you would go.
Okay.
We'll have the variance
Yeah.
if he.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it would all be in a file.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. The next informal discussion is Brad Layton off Chickville Road. Roy had told him that he needed planning board permission to give away crushed gravel from his driveway. Is Brad here?
I'm here for Brad.
Yeah.
John Roque with Roque Consulting. He asked me to come to the meeting and basically find out exactly what he needed to do. What he had done is the lot was, it had a bunch of extra stuff in it that he needed, that he hired a guy to go in and basically clear it off, level it off. And he exchanged, basically, the guy did the work and took some gravel and it was kind of a wash. So he didn't realize it wasn't supposed to leave. The guy took the gravel. It was less than 1,000 cubic yards. I think it was like 800 cubic yards. Roy talked to Brad and told him that we had to come and discuss everything with you and figure out exactly what we needed to do. Some of the other lots, there's 4 more lots or 5 more lots along Chickville Road that may have a similar situation when we clear and put the house lots in. So we want to make sure they didn't run into any problems when they did anything on any of it.
Let me jump in for a minute.
Okay.
He's crushed about 800 yards of gravel up there. It's a big whale bag, and I can see his reason for dropping.
Yep.
At 1,000 yards, you need an alteration permit thing. The trouble, on site, you can crush it and use it. When you start trucking it off site, where it's not a pit, even if it's a swamp, it's my understanding it becomes a pit. So I don't know for sure. So I figured he'd better come in, talk to the board, talk to the selectmen, see if they had a problem, because there's no stump to be paying this gravel, even it's leaving the job site, not being used on the property. And that's where the hair gets split. And I wanted to make sure that nobody's, what's getting in the ringer, mine or theirs. So we made John come in down a lobster place down there to haul that hill off and get permission from the selectmen and us, just to give that away for the view thing over there, back 3-4 years ago. You were here, remember? The lobster restaurant. And this is no different, really. So I just wanted to get him in here and put it through the planning board and Frank here, and see where we stand on that. Because I figure they fallen off 60 or 80 yards or so, maybe 100.
Well, 60 or 80 yards
Yeah.
is not that great of a.
Yeah, it's still, he's hauling off site.
Sure, I understand it's not supposed to be going off site.
Yeah, I told him that before they hauled it.
3.2. All right, Connie brought up to my attention, section 3.2. Excavation that is incidental to agriculture or silvicultural activities, normal landscaping, or minor typographical adjustments when the total earth removal quantity is not more than 1,000 cubic yards. In the event a possibility exists, the proposed excavation may exceed the definition of incidental. The applicant shall meet with the regulator on a preliminary consultant basis for a determination of whether the proposed excavation falls within the definition of incidental. In the event the regulator determines the proposed excavation exceeds the incidental threshold, the applicant shall obtain a permit hereunder prior to performing an excavation. So, the regulator is the selectmen. Planning board? Okay, as you were.
I can say it's in charge of, I work for the planning board, so.
Yeah, that's right. You were put in as the regulator for the travel pit.
I'm looking at what he's done up there, and he's right on the mark. You know what I'm saying? But he's hauling off a site. My understanding was they had to stay on site.
Yeah.
So if they don't have to stay on site, as long as you don't need any more of the bank out this here, he's legal. I mean, as long as you don't need more bank, whether it goes on site or off site, according to that definition. But he can't crush anymore.
Yeah.
Under 1,000 yards.
This
Significantly
limited to
under
1,000 yards.
Yeah, he's significantly under 1,000 yards, and there wouldn't be any of the future lots that would be come anywhere near that. It's basically just clearing for single-family houses.
See, my understanding was it had to be used on site.
Yep.
When the trucks left site,
Yep.
that's what worried me. I didn't want to get myself in a ring or you guys know.
Yep.
Brad,
Can
cooperative.
somebody educate the owner as to the proper method of putting a silt fence in?
I was about to address that.
Yep.
There's not enough hay or silt. There's no hay at all, like I've asked them to do. There's no silt fence.
It looks like they just laid the fence on the pile.
Well, it's
I can definitely take a look at that with
Okay.
Brad.
Yeah, it's not right.
I have not been up. I have
Yeah,
not
well,
been
but
out.
go take a
to
look at it. The
what's
silt
been going
fence is
on.
like one pile, not the other. He did block the driveway, like I asked him to move the truck out the other road.
Okay.
Because it's a steep and coming on a loaded trucks.
Yep.
And he should be coming on the pavement where his road connect. He needs to go out the other way until the house is started rebuilt and he open it back up again.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
Is there any mention in there about selling it? I always thought as long as they didn't sell it, they gave it to their neighbor, it was fine.
Oh,
But if
that's
they
what I
sold
thought
it to the
too.
neighbor.
Yeah.
Trade and selling.
Yeah, oh, trading is, yeah, that's the other thing.
That's it's a close definition.
That was my understanding also, Bruce, that they weren't allowed to sell it off-site.
Silly to sell it outside.
Not on that lot.
Not on that lot.
Yeah, the gravel permit is for the larger parcel behind.
This is the house lot next
These
to it.
are the house lots right on Chickville Road. They're just,
Well, as long as it doesn't exceed 1,000. I'll just hold the board. As long as it doesn't exceed 1,000 cubic yards, you should be okay. And I'll have to just hold the board with yes or no, that's all.
Got a curiosity question.
Yeah.
Same gentleman owns the gravel pit behind that?
yes.
Yes,
Why don't he just move it to the gravel pit, then he can do what he wants with it after that?
costs money.
Yeah.
Still, he's under 1,000 yards, so. Roy?
Yeah, it's under 1,000 yards. If the selectmen don't have a problem with it, I don't. But the way it reads, it sounds all right to me.
Ed?
Fine with it.
Bruce?
Whatever.
Frank?
I'm fine with it as one person, but that's not a selectman board decision.
Yeah, well, no, just for the planning board.
Yeah,
Tony?
that's a planning
Do
board.
you want to ask the Selectmen board about it or not?
That's if this board decides it's not a problem, then
Okay.
the board can make a decision.
That's
I
all
don't
I'll
think
make
you
sure.
really have to, it's under 1,000 yards.
Okay.
I'm all right with that.
Okay, but I'm okay with it. Okay.
Okay,
So just need to address the erosion, then he's all
Yep.
set.
I'll make sure he does that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in. Well, I read it. He's getting toward the threshold that worried me a little bit.
All right, the next informal discussion is Rex Slaughter, 1300 Route 16, would like to build a storage shed on the property that he's looking to purchase. Is anyone here to represent?
Yeah.
Again, I will mention that this is a non-binding discussion, not binding on either party.
Okay. What I want to do is build
Take your name, please.
my name's Rex Slaughter. What I want to do is, I'm thinking of buying the lots. There's 3 lots there. And I'm thinking about buying the lots. But I want to know, there's already a storage facility there. But he wants to sell me a vacant lot. If I get the vacant lot, can I build another storage facility there? And what do I have to do this?
Where are we talking about?
Because I'm all new at this, huh?
Where are we talking about?
Route 16.
Route 16?
Yeah. Pardon?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a fence around it already. And I think there's a cement pad there too.
Right, that's a fair point.
All right, that's where I want to build also.
That commercially zoned?
Yeah, it's a commercial zone. There's already a restaurant there. There's a machine shop there.
It's gotta meet that code, don't it?
Well, you have to come in for a site plan.
Yeah, site plan code.
Right. So you have to submit a site plan review
Okay.
to the board. And you can see Laura for that or.
We're talking about one of these?
Well, you need an actual application.
Oh, okay.
And there are mailing fees to the abutters.
Okay.
Laura can take care of that.
Can work with
All
him
right.
on that.
Okay,
You're in
so-
good shape, just got a couple hoops to jump through.
Okay. Well, good.
So if you come in and see Laura during her hours,
All right. When are you open?
I will be here tomorrow from 3 to 8
3 to 8 here?
here.
All right. Is there any other time I can see you? Because I got to leave town. And I won't be back until about Friday.
Friday, I will be
or
here.
Saturday.
Friday, I'll be here in the morning.
Okay.
Um,
It'll probably be late Friday though, when I get
next
back.
week.
Depending
So-
on how much I get
What
done.
about Monday?
Mondays, I am not here. I'm only
Tuesday?
here Tuesday, Wednesdays. Normally, I'm here on Thursdays, but this week's a little different.
Okay. Tuesday would be fine though.
Do you have an email or something that I can send you the application that
My
way?
wife has one.
NELANDREX@yahoo.com.
Okay.
That's all you need?
And you're here
All right.
at this office, or you're at the town?
I'm
hall?
here.
Down in the
All
hall.
right, it's at Tuesday?
Pardon?
Do I bring it back to you Tuesday, or are we gonna do this through the email?
I will send this to you. It's probably going to take you a little bit of time to get through the application process because there's
Okay.
several steps that you got to do.
Oh, okay.
But I'll go over that with you when I send you the application.
All right. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, sir.
All right, then under old business, the continued case of Westward Shores Lakeside Camping Resort has been continued.
Do the new business case first? That's a continuation. We were waiting for the applicant to show up.
Which one's that?
New business, Linwood.
Okay. All right.
One with the residents.
Do you mind just a little bit? All right, we'll take case 16-3, a lot merger, Linwood Nichols Jr. and Bonnie Wilcox of Annie Nichols Road. Tax map 97, lots 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. The case was continued from the 6th of September. A letter was sent to the applicant requesting the presence at this meeting tonight. Are the applicants here?
Yes, Bonnie Wilcox.
Would you please state your name?
Linda Nichols.
Okay. Now the planning board, if you have your paperwork from the last meeting, you should have the information in there. All right, go ahead.
Okay, what we'll do is we will change the application because one of the homes is on one lot and the other one is on the other, is on another lot. So we'll just change it so it's not on the same lot because it isn't on the same lot.
So you'll have to make a change to your application?
Yes.
Okay. Laura, they haven't seen you yet to make the changes, have they? Okay. What was that plan with the lots?
9 and 17, I believe it is. 9 and 17.
Okay. Lot 9 and lot 17
Yes.
both have structures on them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lot 9 has got the house on it, and lot 17 has the house, and lot 9 has a mobile home on it.
Okay.
We're not doing 17.
That's right, 17 is not,
I thought you were saying 12 before.
well,
17 is not contiguous with it.
oh, that's the address.
Yeah.
Okay, the address of 9 Nichols and 17 Nichols,
Mhm.
which is lots 12 and 13. Okay. Which one would,
Oh,
you want to take one of the lots out of the
Yeah.
merger?
Well, yeah, because we don't want to merge together on the house and the mobile home. And I'm not sure which, I'd have to look at it to see, I can't remember. And I didn't keep a copy of it.
They have the copies right in front of
This looks like a mobile home here, doesn't it? This is the house.
yeah. Who the fuck's that line number for?
Change the number.
Lot 12, lot 12 has the house there. Oh, that may have some lots, I can't see it. Lot 13. 13.
This is 13. 13.
14 is vacant. 15 is vacant.
Well, this big one, 13 is right in the middle.
11 is vacant.
One's referring to last week. I think you're talking about the addresses.
No, yeah, but we're talking about lot numbers 11, 12, 13, and 14.
Merge those two and merge those two.
It's a large lot. 12 is a large lot.
And that's the one with the mobile home.
Then you have 11, 13, 14, and 15 is this one. 11, 13, 14, and 15. 12 is this big one.
Yeah, that's the one with the mobile home.
Okay.
11, 12, and 13.
Are those conforming lots?
I just little small pieces of the house.
They're drawing the lines now.
There.
Pardon me?
They're drawing the lines now.
You know, the point is, is that a road?
This has the mobile home on it, lot 12, the big one.
This road goes back.
13 has a house.
There's a house on 16.
Yeah.
And this road starts down.
Right.
But the
But
river-
is this a road?
Yeah,
14, 13.
there's a road.
That's a road? That's a town road?
No,
Well,
16
this lot has no frontage. This is a non-conforming lot. This lot has no
That's
frontage.
not on
This is a
this part.
conforming lot.
But if
It's
you
not a
wanted
town
to
road.
do
Those two lots.
the house with the other 3 lots, you could do that.
Hey, Ski,
Yes,
out of curiosity, I don't know, but the road showing down between those lots, is that a town road?
No.
no.
Then where did they get their 200 feet of
Actually,
frontage for lot
driveway.
13 and lot 11? They're non-conforming. Yeah.
Their grandfather. And they're not making them more non-conforming.
Yes.
No, it's not making them more non-conforming.
Well, they would stay the same, so it's not making it more non-conforming.
I didn't say it was.
Okay. But what she's suggesting is the lot 12 has the mobile home on it. That's a large lot that's kind of
Yeah.
U-shaped. Leave that as one. And then take lot 11, 13, 14, and 15 as a merger and merge those lots.
To them, whatever they want to do.
Yep, that's what I think.
To me, I would put lot 11 and lot 12 in one merger, and I'd put 13, 14, and 15 in another. That way, everybody's got road frontage.
What Bruce is saying is merge this lot, these 2 lots, and these 3 lots. So you would have this as one big lot with the mobile home on it, and you would have these 3 with the house on it. Does that work for you? Okay. Okay. All right.
Does she need to amend her application?
You're going now, Bruce, you did something right.
Don't tell anybody.
Well, we're going to merge 11 and 12 as one. And then 13, 14, and 15, this one, and this one. 1 and 2. Does that work for you?
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right. Well, we can do it in a motion. We can do it in a motion. All right, we have it straightened out now, Bruce. We're going to merge map 97 lots 11 and 12. Now that has the mobile home on it as one. And the second merger would be to merge lots 13, 14, and 15, which has the house on it then. So I make a motion that we do the lot merger in 2 steps. The first step is to merge map 97, lots 11 and 12. And
Should this be two separate mergers?
yes, that's why I stopped right now, because I wanted to wait for a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All in favor. I also make a motion, second motion, on tax map 97, lots 13, 14, and 15, to merge those as one lot.
I'll second that.
Okay, for a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? All in favor? No one opposed? All done? Thank you for your help. Give that form to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Now we will resume with the Westward Shores. Sorry about the delay, guys. Before we get into the discussions and the nuts and bolts of what you're going to present, we have to accept the application as complete. What's that? Laura, do we have the original application? It's probably been changed some over the discussions that we've had.
Well, there was an update, and that should be listed in that as well. Site plan.
No, we haven't brought it up, that's the reason. All right. Everything seems to be in order with the site plan review checklist. Would anyone else on the board like to review it? Okay. All right. I make a motion that we approve the application as submitted. Okay.
Approve it?
Yep.
Well, I thought you wanted.
No, application only. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the original.
Accepted, I think is the proper word.
Well, to accept the application.
That's complete.
That's complete.
Not complete. Whatever.
Any further discussion? Okay, go ahead. Connie said it's not complete.
No, because they don't have all their permits.
Okay, Connie stated that they do not have all of their permits required.
Correct.
You don't have all permits, correct?
You can't vote on it.
However, there is a provision for conditional approval while permits are in.
That's only on the.
That's on the final plan, not on the application.
Not on the application.
The conditions go to the final approval of the site plan review.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Peter Malia. I represent the applicant, Northgate Ossipee LLC, and I think maybe there's a little bit of confusion. What Connie's referring to when he's saying they don't have all of their permits in place, I think he's jumping ahead to a vote on whether or not to approve the project. When you vote to accept an application as complete, all you're looking at is whether or not they've submitted the information required in section 6.04 of your ordinance, whether or not they've checked all of those boxes regarding what the plan needs to show and the legends, the title blocks, all of the information that your ordinance requires to be submitted. Quite frankly, I thought this was accepted back in April because this is our 5th meeting. So I think that, you know, clearly the application that they submitted is complete because it, you know, whether or not you ultimately approve it is a different question, but this is the application that they submitted. And it contains all of the requirements of Article 6 of your site plan review regulations. So the application is complete. You know, whether or not you want to approve it or not because all the permits are in place is a different question.
How can you act on the application?
You can do it as a condition, Connie.
Yeah, accepting an application as complete just sort of puts it on the floor for debate. It starts the clock ticking on approving or disapproving, but it doesn't mean you approve of the project. It just means that the application that was submitted contains all of the information required by Section 6. That's why I think you have a checklist that the applicant needs to follow to make sure they submit everything on the checklist, which I think they've done. So there's no doubt that the application is complete. Here's the checklist is in Section 2 of the application for site plan review that's dated March 14, 2016. Number 2 is checklist for site plan review, major project. And here is your form, your Town of Ossipee form, checklist for site plan review. And Dan Flores from FFC went through your entire ordinance and noted that he has provided you with every single thing that your ordinance requires him to submit for a complete application. So the application's complete, and you know whether or not you take an issue with all of the permits not being in place is a different question. That's what you decide when you vote to approve or deny the actual application.
I'm going to agree with that the application, the paperwork, or the form and the required items that are listed has been submitted.
I think he's right, because
Yes, right.
past meetings, there's always, the application complete, that are always voted on afterwards. If they were not there, this continued on the permits being supplied with before it was considered complete.
That's correct. That's also my feeling.
That's my memory. We've always done it.
Any other comment from the board about that?
I agree with you, Steve.
Okay. All right. So, again, all those in favor of the application being complete, raise your hand. Okay. Okay. Connie, okay. Any opposed? Connie abstained. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. We first came before this board in December 2015 with a concept. Since that concept, we have scaled back development and have agreed to set aside 45 acres of land in conservation easement. We have been before the Ossipee Zoning Board of Adjustment and received a special exception and a variance for this project. We have had review by upwards of 20 agencies. We have been before the Ossipee Conservation Commission while reviewing for the wetland permit. And we have now recently completed a review by a third-party engineer chosen by this board. We are now before you, having responded to everything asked of us by this board and with major DS permits in place. We ask you tonight to grant a special use permit, which was submitted with the application, and conditional site plan approval for this project. Conditional approval tonight allows us to move ahead with construction of the 3 wells, which will involve land clearing and considerable expense from the owner. Following that, we will be granted subdivision approval by the state. Only then, with subdivision approval, can we then get septic approvals. So tonight, we are at a step where we need your involvement. We need you to give us conditional approval so we can move ahead with work on the site, install wells, and to unlock our subdivision approval at the state.
Can you not install the wells without the approval?
There is a bit of risk involved in that. We have 3 wells to install. There's going to be land clearing, temporary roads, and again, significant expense to set those wells. We ask tonight for conditional approval with the understanding that we still need to get the other permits. We need to get final water supply approval, which requires the wells, subdivision approval, which requires water supply, and finally septic approval. The conditional approval allows us to move ahead. If we do not obtain those permits, the conditional approval goes away.
Is septic over 600 gallons a day? Is septic over 600 gallons a day?
Yes, sir.
Did we submit another ordinance?
They've applied for the special use permit.
They did apply for that.
Yes, sir. That's in the application.
It's in here, but
Right.
we haven't.
They have applied for it, is what I
Yeah,
said.
it's here, it's in
Right.
here. Now, you said there were three items that you needed. Was a water supply
Yep, final water supply approval.
permit of approval.
Yep. Right now, we have approval for the well locations.
Okay. The second item was
State subdivision approval,
subdivision.
and that's at the clearinghouse for DES. They require all other approvals to be in before they issue that subdivision. And only then can we get septic approval. Now, the subdivision has been at the state. We do have comments. They're essentially minor. One of them is wetland permit, which we received today, and the other one is final water supply approval.
Which you need the wells to do that.
Correct, yes, sir.
Now, do we need the emergency plan for that or no?
Well, we can put that as a condition.
Have they fixed the rules yet about sheds and stuff?
There was a letter submitted on August 2nd to the board addressing that from the owners.
What about the evacuation plan?
Yep, there was at the last meeting we attended, there was an emergency action plan submitted. And essentially the critical elements of the emergency action plan, is of flood hazard or other issue. That was submitted at the July 19th.
On that plan, though, I didn't see anything specific about where you were going to store these hauled structures or residences or trailers, whatever we want to call them. If you're going to be moving upwards of 200 of these, you need a significant amount of space. And that plan did not address that, really.
Yep, the actual site itself, the
Yes.
equipment on the site is the responsibility of the owner. Just as today, there's an existing campground closer to the lake. There has not been a significant issue with that. It's been managed when there has been. We are now developing farther from the lake. The sites that are on the peninsula that are closest will be raised and secured, so that's not an issue.
Does that make them permanent structures? Changes the thing?
It's still a recreational structure under 400 square feet.
Yeah, because the permanent structure, doesn't that change the rules a little bit?
No, it's not on a foundation. It's on cribbing and raised and secured.
The municipal association attorney disagrees with that. So that's something that has to be worked out still. And what you proposed for the evacuation plan is I don't think it's acceptable.
Well, that's partly why I raised that one question. I'm sure there would be others also.
Right.
I think it should be more definitive.
We give a conditional tonight, we'll need to include this stuff to be settled later. Otherwise, you know, we can't do it.
There's nothing stopping them from putting in the wells, and they have risk anyways, regardless of whether or not they get conditional approval tonight. Because they're still gonna put in the wells, and if they can't come up with the water, they're not gonna find that out until they put the wells in.
Are the wells in the logging area?
Two here, you got the entrance, and then one down by the Tinsel Road.
So it's not in the area you clear?
Correct. So that's, we won't be clearing the area anyway, so it requires essentially temporary work.
And if there's any changes required by the state,
yep,
you know, you're gonna have to come back and renotice everybody. Well, if you make changes to the plan after it's approved conditionally, the plan's no good.
We would be able to satisfy the condition when the permits come in. We submit them if the permits are.
All right. Let's say DES says you got to cut 10 lots off or whatever.
Yep.
All right. So you're back to applying and going through.
Yes, and there's no reason to suspect that. We have alteration of terrain permit, which is a big one. We have a shoreline permit, again, that's a big one that affects the planning, and wetland permit. The state has seen the subdivision, they've seen this. There's no reason to expect any sites to be reduced. It's a...
Well, once we grant conditional approval, it becomes just an administrative process.
Yes.
And we lose our voice, which that's our concern.
Okay. And again, it is dependent on getting those permits from the state. So if you look at
Once
the
again, it's still an administrative process, and it takes our decision-making in our voice.
Out of our hands.
Right.
So we get the peninsula's a problem, because if you think they're not permanent structures, but our lawyer thinks there are, and this lawyer does, you got a problem there. I'm not so sure about the diversity plan being very good. I don't see how you can make everybody responsible. They're not here, you own the property. You need some type of plan, move those trailers someplace. I've seen that water come up some damn fast, or at the top of the road, the top of the bridges. You got 6 inlets and 1 outlet. And priorities protecting the public and the lake. I have no problem with the campground, but I have a problem with what the priorities are going to be.
Priority is no different than it is for anybody who lives on the lake. You own your own property here.
You may own your own property.
You have your own camper, you're responsible for it. It's up to you to get it moved. It's not up to these people to move 200 campers. No more than it is a next door neighbor or someone to move all your stuff out of their house.
And why should we approve the campground? They're making the money off of the campground. These campgrounds are gonna have a bunch of trailers on them. That lake comes up 4 or 5 feet or 6 feet, which it can very rapidly. I've seen them bridges right up to water to the 2 bridges, which puts that campground well underwater. You've got a lot of stuff going into the lake.
Okay, I fully understand that, but what about, if you have a 100-year flood, Western Shores is gonna be a very small part of the problem you're gonna have.
I understand that, but why make the problem bigger than it already is? That's my point.
Because they have a right to. It's business. They own the property.
They may own the business, they may have a right to, but they gotta follow whatever the rules are.
Right.
If you have a person, an owner, who has a camper there, or who is, let's say, 200 miles away, which there are people up here that come from other states, and the water starts to rise. 200 miles is a minimum of 4 hours. And the water can rise in 4 hours. It can rise in significant amounts.
Who's to say they have to come and move it? They could have someone else here in town move it. They could have a friend who lives here. That is something that...
The campground has a responsibility
They do,
relative to
that's
that.
right.
And, you know,
But
it
the
really
owners
doesn't
also have
matter
a
who
responsibility.
owns the camper.
They can set up to have this stuff all done.
Right, but that's why we're asking for a plan.
It's not all their responsibility, though. They can only do their part. They can't hold everybody's hand.
I think you got a guest speaker here tonight on this particular project, and I was wondering if maybe he could enlighten a lot of people. I know the concerns, but you know, well, look at Louisiana, they're rebuilding everything down there too, after they lost it all. I think if these folks meet the federal, state, and local requirements, they have a right to go forward. But I think I'd like to hear why we have a guest speaker on the agenda that we haven't recognized yet.
Dan, would you accept the speaker to give his portion?
Yes.
All right. John Picard.
Just heard my name. I'm John Picard. I was the second owner at Westwood Shores. I am one of the founding fathers of the Ossipee Lake Dam Authority. To this day, I still control and open and close the dam on the state say-so. We went through, I owned the property from 1985 through 99, 15 years. We had what I like to call 3 major high waters. I don't believe we have floods. I believe Texas, Ohio, and Louisiana have floods. We had high water inconveniences. One of the high waters, we moved out 72 trailers. And after that, I said, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to do that ever again. And the previous owner helped me do it. And so we took the high water mark at 410, which was the state original high water mark. And we made everybody that was going to stay there and not care about their property, because I was not going to be responsible for moving trailers anymore, up above the 410 mark. Since that time, we had the last big flood, which was 98, June of 98, and the water came up about 413. We lost the gauge at 412 and a half, but I shot grades from the water was in my living room down to where it was, and it was about 413. And don't get me wrong, I'm not for this project, I'm not against this project. I'm here as the dam authority and a previous owner. I really came here first when I read in the paper that they blamed mismanagement of the dam in 98, 99. Well, I started the dam authority in 1991. I've been the chairman and dam operator since 1992, when it was my dollar that I donated to purchase the dam from Central Maine Power. So that's really what I came. I didn't want my dam authority to get slammed again. But anyway, as far as what you guys are talking about, as far as evacuating the house, that's up to the owner of the trailer. If you see it fit, make them lift the trailers up to go underneath. Where they're putting it, the water didn't get up that high. The current stayed over to the other side, between the 2 bridges where you said, and that river used to come down in the 30s. There's a map down at Westwood Shores where it shows coming down the Old Man Johnson's fish camp, and that river used to go right straight into Meadow Cove, which is between Deer Cove and Westwood Shores. Meadow Cove. In 1930, I was told there was an ice dam in the middle of the winter, and it forced the river over towards Westwood Shores. And you can actually see that on that aerial picture at Westwood Shores. You can see it on those maps that Barry Rollins has down at his boat shop. I don't see the high water as a major concern, and you guys are looking at evacuation plans and everything else. Water comes, water goes. The camp is the most resilient people in the world. They clean up. 98, it happened in June. We were back open July. It happened on June 13th, which was graduation. We were back open for business on July 4th weekend. Now, if you got any questions about where the water comes, where the water goes. I can tell you that, but I can't tell you what to do about that, what they're gonna do.
Any questions from the board of Mr. Burkhardt?
Thanks, John.
Stop.
Dan?
Thank you.
Thank you. Just had a couple things to point out, and this is important. You don't necessarily lose control if you grant a conditional approval. If you look on page 15 and 16 of your site plan review regulations, it's called Board Action on Completed Application. It's 6.05.3B. That's conditional approval. So that's the section that says that if you grant conditional approval and just minor plan changes have to be made, or administrative changes, or just receipt of a permit from the state, then you don't necessarily have to schedule any further public hearings, and the approval can be made final sort of out of session. But the next section, C, called compliance hearing, allows you to maintain control over conditions of approval. It says that you can place conditions of approval which shall be met within a period of time determined by the board, at which time a noticed hearing shall be held. So you can schedule a further public hearing to make sure that the conditions have been approved or have been met to your satisfaction. You don't necessarily lose control by granting conditional approval. You can relinquish control if you want, if they're administrative or ministerial, but if you think they're substantive and you want to give the public another opportunity to come back and make sure the conditions have been met, then you can schedule it for a further public hearing. I'm also hearing a couple of other things tonight. I'd like to see if I could, your municipal attorney's advice. Is that in writing, and is that something we could get a hold of? Because this is the first time I think I'm hearing that you've got an opinion from an attorney regarding the units on the peninsula. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to take a look at that if I could and see where he or she is coming from.
I don't know if it's in writing, but
we can get it in writing.
I'm sure we can get an email out of it. Just to point out what Connie just showed me, so Connie will have his voice heard. Under 605.3, the same paragraphs that you were stating, the board, under B, the board may grant conditional approval for a plan or application. So Connie was correct in what he was trying to state, that there can be conditions on the application. All right. Anything else you'd like to say?
Not right now.
All right, Dan.
So again, we do ask for additional approval. We have finished review by a third-party engineer. We received wetland permit today. And again, we ask for additional approval to move forward with the project.
I understand that there were some items on the Jonesy Beach that were not addressed completely.
There were 8 items out of the 46 that they state as a planning board decision.
Okay.
If you want to
Yes.
state number 2.
September 6th from Jones and Beach. You got a copy? Does anybody need a copy?
Yeah, I don't have that.
Why don't you make enough for the board? Make sure everybody has one.
If it looks like that, I got it.
Do any other board members need a copy?
Real difference between September 6th and the August 16th one. Rick, do you know?
What was that?
The real difference between September 6th, Jonesville Beach, and August 16th?
Yeah, no, they did address the majority of it.
All right, we're talking about number 2 now.
Yes, sir. Number 2. And essentially, this comes down to developing the campground in the floodplain. I pointed out that per FEMA, floodplains are considered a good use for a campground because of their nature. It's people don't have to be there; they can leave when the flood's coming.
They can leave, but what about the structures that are there?
Yeah, and our evacuation plan does not call for all structures leaving. It states that those wishing to leave may do so.
So, in other words, if there was a unit or units that were to float away into the lake, that's not your responsibility.
I don't understand how that would happen at the new campground. You can see the existing campground here. You can see the lake. We're developing this side of the lake. So to respect the structure, to float away from here through the trees into the lake, it's unreasonable.
What about the peninsula?
These structures will be raised and secured.
So then they will be a structure as opposed to a camping trailer.
Secured with cable coils with cables. There are different options available, but it's still a recreational structure. It's not on a foundation, but it is raised, flood level, and secured, so it can't be carried away.
According to our zoning, it's unlocked as a structure. A structure does have to conform to the zoning ordinances. Donnie, you've got a list of them? In other words, when you receive your variance, it said that you must conform to all federal, state, and local ordinances. Okay. And if these on the peninsula especially are deemed structures, then they have to conform to the ordinance.
Okay. We don't believe it is a structure. Again, it does not have a foundation. It is movable. The fact that it is raised does not make it non-movable. And that is within FEMA guideline as well.
That doesn't seem to be the same answer as the municipal authority. But anyway, we can continue on, and we'll have to get a further answer on that.
Item number 5. Next one.
Before you go to number 5, back up. Where it's talking about the septic system. You still have the same thing in there saying it'll be capped. Is that going to be the automatic cap that closes, like Bob suggested the last time, or is that still just a screw-on cap?
You brought one.
Oh, I thought that was your drink.
Yeah, I did too. That was a funny looking drinking glass.
You can drink all you want, I don't want it.
Huh?
Drink all that all you want.
Yeah, right.
So what we had proposed originally, you can see this in the ground. You can be hooked in. You have a screw, screws in.
Which was brought up, if the person is not there, who's going to do that? That was brought up, and that was further discussed.
Yep. And so we looked at what's available for self-closing. This is this one here. And another campground uses this in the floodplain, and it's spring-loaded. It shuts closed automatically. And what I like about this one versus some other models is that it does screw in, so you get that tight seal, and it has interior threading to accept the adapter. And so now the camp unit takes their hose and screws into this. Again, there's a gasket.
So if we got a flood coming, you got warning, who's gonna check for that red thing's on the or the owner of the camper's 4 hours away?
Who knows enough to go take the red piece out of there before the flood hits?
I'll ask who's gonna do it.
And who chooses?
The campground responsibility, isn't it?
Also, too, let's say it's already underwater before you get to it.
Yeah, too late to worry about that. It's hooked to the camper itself still, it's not a problem. I was just wondering who's gonna check it and take the camper off.
Is that in the specs?
It's on the plan, yes.
It's on the plan now, that
That's on the
yellow
plan.
cap?
Yeah. This is just an option. This
Yes.
is something that someone brings with them to the camper. It's not usually supplied by the campground. So it makes for a cleaner connection. In some cases, you just drop the hose in. And then you pull the hose out, it shuts.
It goes back to my question, who's gonna check the hoses if the owners don't, you guys? If the hose is stuck in there and the flood comes up and the guy don't come up 4 hours, move his camper, The water's still going there, that's my point.
Right down the toilet.
So somebody's gonna have to be responsible, run around and check all those real quick, that's all, that's my point. I'd like to see that addressed a little bit.
That should be addressed in writing.
Yep,
Exactly.
Well, the emergency action plan that we submitted does state that.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, again, the owner is responsible for making sure that's secure.
The owner can't be responsible to make sure that's secure. He's 4 hours away, he's not gonna move his camper, you guys got to check them. The whole idea of these covers is the fact they've got it closed.
Yep,
And if he's out in New Jersey and he don't get up to do it, says I'm not gonna bother, one of them caps open is gonna fill that septic system with water completely.
Yep, these are for the transient sites only. So transient site, the owner will be there. The seasonal sites in which the person keeps the site year-round would not have this connection, would have a hard connection into the pipe. It would not, because the trailer stays for the season. So these would be for transient only, transient leaves, he closes.
In other words, just before he moves his camper,
Yes.
he would take the hose
So the
out.
transient is the guy who comes up the camper and leaves with the camper.
A transient is someone who comes, stays for a few days, a week, and then leaves.
Camper and all.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I need to know. He pulls the hose, it's gonna close.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to know.
Bruce, anything else on number 2? You want to continue that? Nope. Anyone else got any questions on number 2? Okay.
Next one is item number 5. And we're questioning the elevation of the leach fields, the effluent disposal areas. There is no requirement in the state of New Hampshire to raise the disposal field above the flood elevation. And I went on to explain in my answer that a campground, being the use that it is, where there is a flood, the people leave, there is no reason to expect the leach field to be in use during that flood. If it does flood, it's a pumped system. All the effluent is pumped to the fields. It's not a gravity system. It doesn't have an endless supply of effluent flowing to it. As part of the emergency action plan, the electrical power is shut off, the pumps are shut off, no effluent goes to the fields. So as I stated, there isn't an issue with a flood coming through.
What happens to the effluent that's being stored in the enviro septic units?
Yep. My calculation shows it would take, where it is, approximately an hour for that to leach into the soils, just as normally would.
In a saturated ground? I don't think so.
By the time that it's saturated, correct. It would leach into the ground just as normal. Obviously, if there was a flood, that would not happen. But again, it would not be in use during the flood.
If our ordinance calls for a higher system, you have to follow that in order to get your permit. So, I don't care what the state says. If our ordinance says you shall have it higher than flood, you shall have it higher than flood.
Yes.
Period.
But your ordinance does not say that.
Yes, it does. How are you going to assure that that's not going to be flooded if it's below the floodplain? It has to be above the floodplain.
If a flood came through to the elevation of the field will flood. There's no question of that.
So, you just killed your own argument?
How did I kill it?
Because you said if it floods,
Yeah, the field will flood.
it's going to fill the field.
Yep. I mean,
The field is supposed to be above the floodplain.
when the flood lowers, the field drains out and it goes back to its normal use.
What happens to the effluent? Goes out through the pipes, your bed pipes. No. Yes.
I did some research looking for additional information. I can't find any state in New England that requires elevation. What I did find was
I'm not worried about the elevation, but in fact, this raise of his pipes up quite a ways. Just schedule fire and seal them. That solves the problem.
Sorry, I didn't catch that, sorry.
Your vent pipes?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Raise those well above the flood zone, schedule fire and seal them, and don't worry about it.
Yes, sir. The plans show that all vents must be minimum 3 feet above flood.
As long as they're above flood,
Yep.
nothing's going into them.
Well, you still have the potential for the field to get flooded.
If his field is stalled right, and it's backfilled right, it's seeded and loamed right, it really shouldn't be much of a problem.
If a flood comes, when it recedes, the field dries out, and it can go back to its normal use.
It'll be a couple of days cleaning up, so it won't be turning it on for a couple of days, so. All I'd have to wait 48 hours or better if they turn stuff back on after the flood succeeds. That's sand, the water's gonna drop very quick.
I guess we can deal with that with a special use permit, right?
You need to. Connie has brought up the definition of a dwelling. It's a building or portion thereof designed for residential occupancy, including single-family, two-family, or multiple families, but not including hotels, motels, or rented rooms in lodging houses. So these would be considered a dwelling and or a structure.
Well, it would not be a residential, it's a recreational use. It's not a permanent residence.
You can only be occupied 14 days a year.
Under.
You want to classify it that way?
Under our ordinance.
Under our ordinance, you can only occupy it 14 days per year.
Yes, this is on your private property, not necessarily a campground.
Correct. If you own a house, and if somebody wants to park a trailer on your front yard, they can stay there 14 days.
This is not a front yard.
It's still private property.
I don't see it falls in the same category at all. Sorry.
It's a campground.
I think we need to be careful. I think they've given us really good answers. I think they've done a good job answering their questions, and we need to look at it as a positive answer.
Let's move on here. Number 5 has been satisfied. In the first paragraph of the answer, it does state that the vents will be located 3 feet above the flood elevation.
Yes, sir.
What's your next one, Dan?
Number 9 is a planning board decision. This is the parking requirements. The zoning ordinance requires 1 space per unit. We provide 1 space per unit. This is similar to the existing campground and similar to other campgrounds operated by Northgate. And they state, we understand the SFC response, however, the planning board must be comfortable with the parking. And again, we meet the ordinance.
What's your next item?
Number 40. This is about the drinking water. And again, we have approval from DES for the location of the wells. That handles the setbacks. Next step, again, is to go out, clear a road, construct the wells, and finish the water supply approval with the state. And again, we're asking for conditional approval tonight to complete this process. And their comment was no further comment, planning board decision.
Any comments from the board?
Number 43. deals with town engineer review during construction. They offer their services. Our understanding is that the code enforcement officer is also able to do that work, to inspect the system during construction. Also know that us, SFC, as the designers, must inspect the septic system.
That's news to me.
Anything
That's a
over-
requirement?
Anything over 2,500 gallons per day. And basically telling the state that it's been installed per the approved plan. Only with that will they give operational approval of the system. Secondly, for our alteration of terrain permit, we're also required to come out and see the work done for the bioretention areas throughout, to make sure those are done per plan. And that must be submitted to the state as well as part of our permit. So we have two different permits now that require us to be out here during construction. And again, they state no further comment, planning board decision.
Will SFC be the GC?
No, no, sir.
Who will be the GC?
Has not been decided yet.
Because I would feel that our zoning officer should be in contact with the GC along with the project as opposed to going to SFC or
Yes, sir, yeah.
anyone else.
Yeah, they should contact him directly for any inspection points.
Right.
But I also believe that SFC and our zoning officer can make these inspections, and I do not believe we need Jones Beach any further involvement.
Right.
And
As long as we
agree
have
with
the
that.
GC from the owners.
I know the state inspectors, they don't let nothing get by.
What's the number, 44?
Number 44, this deals with the special use permit. And again, it was submitted with the application. And during my very first presentation, my very long-winded presentation, going through the application and the checklist, I did present the special use permit as part of this application. The regulations do state that the special use permit can be sought at the same time as the site plan review. And that's what we have done with our application. So the two can be looked at the same time, approved at the same time.
Approved at the same time but separately.
Okay. Go on.
Yes.
Number 45, deal with milfoil. This is addressed in the Westward Shores Rules and Regulations that we submitted to the board, which in turn comply with DES regulations. And their comment was planning board decision.
Would you expound upon what your answer was originally, so that there are some people in the audience who are concerned about things like that, and they may not have been here for the original presentation.
There is language in the Westward Shores Rules and Regulations, the document that every tenant must review and sign when they're allowed onto the campground. There's language in there educating them about milfoil and the steps to take. Essentially, clean the boat before going in the water, clean the boat afterwards, and keep an eye out for any milfoil. I don't have the rules and regs in front of me at the moment. But essentially, it's at the very bottom, milfoil. It states milfoil is an invasive plant that could overtake the waterfront of the lake. Please carefully inspect your boat and trailer to ensure it is clean of milfoil and other invasive species before and after launching. There's also signage at the campground.
In other words, the campgrounds does not have any responsibility for it. It's up to the occupants.
Yeah, the boat owner.
So,
I think you get that many boats, and you have to be the only responsible.
And then the final one, number 46. The emergency evacuation, requiring tenant removal. We do not require tenant removal, it is the tenant's choice. And as Mr. Picard mentioned today, about the water level and the history at our development area. They made mention of a park in Plymouth that had issues from Tropical Storm Irene. Yes, there are parks that have had issues with flooding throughout New Hampshire. It's not new. They deal with it. They go back to business afterwards. We follow the requirements of FEMA to lessen the impact. And again, we are meeting, as I stated, we are meeting FEMA requirements for flooding. And they state planning board decision. So we have addressed all of their items.
are there any questions from the board about these items?
I'm still not satisfied with 46. And then we still have the peninsula issue.
I would like to see further information from the municipal authorities as far as structures, especially on the peninsula. That would be the first area that gets water. I'm not saying flooded, but gets water.
Yep, and that's why we're taking the steps for the agency here for FEMA.
I'd like to get the information in writing from them so that that can be addressed.
On this evacuation thing.
I just was gonna repeat that, you know, just phone calls between people don't cut it.
Yep.
That's my opinion. I don't care if the governor of the state calls and makes a personal comment. If you're gonna address an issue and hold these folks accountable for it, it needs to be something in writing. The person making the comment needs to stand up and be accountable. And if it's not in writing, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not interested in it.
I also agree with that.
I want to make a comment about, I've taken the time to, I told you before, I've talked to many people on the lake who have places on the Western Shore. Many of them are there year round, well, through the winter, and they leave their place there in the fall and winter. Most of them have friends or have knowledge of someone in town who would move their trailer or their camper in time of the flood. Now, I didn't talk to everybody, but a great number of them have something set up. They live in Newton, they live outside of Boston. They can't get up there, you're right. So they have someone to look after their property. I still say it's up. If you're gonna live on the lake, you're gonna get your feet wet. I mean, that's a given. You can call it a 100-year flood, you can call it whatever you want. And it's a campground. All we can do is hope that they take care of the place. I've been down there, I looked at it, to be honest with you. I think it's the best thing that could happen to this place. It needs some money put into it. It needs to be upgraded. It needs this. I understand there's concerns about a 100-year flood. I've been here, I've seen one. I've lived here all my life. The lake came back. It comes back after every flood. You have to clean up, of course you do. It goes with it. People who live here tonight are on the lake. They know at some point they're gonna get their feet wet. That's just the way it is. So I think we're making mountains out of molehills. That lake will recover from the flood. It always has, it always will. They're not going to spend the money it's going to take to put this thing together and let it go to hell. Come on, we got to look at this with some common sense. Would you go out and spend millions of dollars and just ignore it? The lake is what brings them their money. They're gonna take care of it as well as anybody else.
Anything else? Anything else from the board? All right, I'll open it up to the public now. Please stand, state your name so you can be recognized.
Hi, my name is Zach Bossenbrook. I'm one of the managing partners of the Westward Shores project. We own 9 campgrounds around the country. And I just following up on your point, which was excellent. 5 of the 9 are in, at least partially in, the flood zone, the 100-year flood zone. So this isn't really a unique issue. It does happen across the industry. You know, when a flood comes, the RVs are either pulled out, or many times, like we see today at Westward Shores, they're elevated, they're on blocks, they're tied down. You know, the question about whether these park model RVs that are put out on a peninsula, whether they somehow change their character to be something other than RVs because they're elevated and tied down. I mean, this happens all over the country. I'm sure it happens in your township that there's many RVs that are elevated on blocks. It doesn't change the nature. They are taxed as personal property. I'm sure your taxing person here could tell you that. So I'm not sure where that issue is coming out of. These RVs are built to federal regulations, and that's how they become classified as either park model RVs or the travel trailers or other RVs that you see towed down the road. So merely elevating these RVs doesn't change their nature as park model RVs under federal code. So that, to me, we see that all over the country, and had never had that be raised as an issue that somehow it changes its nature. So
these are RVs?
They are defined as RVs under the federal code, yes.
If they call them park models, would that not make you think that it would be for a trailer park?
A park model RV falls under the RV recreational vehicle definition under the federal code. It's a type of recreational vehicle. So they have to be built.
What federal code is that?
I can get it to you. I haven't memorized the code.
Get it to me.
I will. I can email you materials on that. But they have to be built to a certain code, and that's why they're not inspected by local authorities, because they're built and there's a seal on them.
Just like mobile homes.
It's a very similar concept.
They're not HUD inspected.
They're not HUD inspected. It's a different inspection. But it's a similar concept where federal law has dictated what construction standards they need to be built to.
I'll just mail in the code on that. That's an RV by federal code. I'd be satisfied with that.
I'd be happy to. I've done that in other
I just like to
other
see the
towns.
RV, or you want to call it, the code.
Yep.
You know, your legal's legal, and that's why I want you.
Okay. I can do that. But regardless, I mean, I think we're asking for approval of, these RV sites on the peninsula. What kind of RV goes on the peninsula? I don't, that's really getting into the details, I think, but.
Well, it all goes into the detail of it being called a structure.
We've been burned a couple times.
Yeah.
So we just want to make sure all I's and T's crossed.
Yeah, once Connie just suggested that if you raise it 5 feet, then it does become a structure.
I didn't hear that last part.
You're raising it 5 feet to get it above floodplain.
Right.
Why would that make it a structure?
Because now it's permanent.
Now, if it's cribbed and just hooked down, it's an RV, it can be moved at any time. It's different if you jack up a trailer and excellent or a module that can be moved that's not HUD approved. They're only renting it for 14 days or 2 weeks, whatever, to each party. It's not a permanent residence.
Yes. The thing I would conclude with is if you look at the other campgrounds in our portfolio, we do invest a significant amount of money to improve these properties. And you know, we're not just giving lip service to this. We're ready to fund this. We're ready. We've already improved the park quite a bit. I don't know if you've seen it recently, but our goal is to bring this to a, you know, resort level. So appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I'm Ann Cunningham. I'm the chair of the Freedom Planning Board, and I want to thank this board again for giving the town of Freedom a butter status on this project of regional impact. This status allows us to comment and gives us the opportunity to do so. We also thank the board for providing us with the correspondence that you received between August 2nd and September 6th with Jones and Beach and SFC and this board. We received these documents last Thursday on September 16th. These documents are quite technical and require some time to review. In addition, we were given a link to look at the plats on the DES website, but we have had no opportunity to see the plans, and in fact, I was told this afternoon that the plans on DES are not final. They were going to be presented to the board tonight. We would again like to have the opportunity to review these. They're quite complicated, and we'd like to use some time to review them with an engineer that we've been working with. So given all of this, we respectfully request that we be given more time to review all this new information before the board acts on this application. Without the time to review, Freedom will not be able to meaningfully comment on this proposal in an informed way as an abutter. So we are requesting some more time, please.
You hold these people up much longer, they're waiting another year to start. Or in September.
That's true, but as an abutter, if we don't have any chance to review.
Voted in, I'd have voted against it personally. So,
actually,
I think this has been dragged on quite a while. I think they've done everything we've asked at this point. It's only conditional tonight, not approved. We can actually make it conditional on the fact that they come one more time for a public hearing. And anything that didn't be addressed at that point, I think.
I'm not an attorney, but I believe if you approve this tonight with the 3 conditions that they are asking you, the permits and the...
we can add conditions to that.
But if you approve it tonight without any other conditions...
I understand that.
It will be approved.
We can add the condition that you can come back for the last meeting. I do believe. I'd have to ask the chairman to pull the board now, but I think I'm ready.
I think that whatever conditions the board feels necessary to put onto it, which is reasonable.
But these people need to get started.
Well, on that same vein, Dan, when do you think you would proceed with the well? Which would be the first step, correct?
Yes, within a month, within the next few weeks. As soon as possible, basically. Step 1 is to get out, clear the roads, get access to wells.
So you would start that within a month?
Yes.
You'd be willing to come back the next meeting to address any concerns they might have? Which would be
I'm
the
against
first
this.
thing.
I'm sorry, but I'm against it.
Well, I kind of agree with that for most.
This, I understand your concerns, but this is a town of Ossipee. I was elected by the people of Ossipee. I'm supposed to look out for their interests. Their interest supersedes anything that you might have to say if it's in our best interest to do another way. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel. I'm an Ossipee citizen. This is an Ossipee problem or project, the owner, I think we've asked them to meet a number of things from the original, and they've done everything that we've asked them to do.
I agree with that.
There are a
like I
lot of
said.
jealous people that doesn't, they just don't want to see this go through. There's a lot of money here for the town. People out there say, well, here's just money. I tell you what, there are people who live in this town that are living on a very fixed income. This is a great project to bring more money to the town, to business, to restaurants. I'm sorry, but I cannot see the argument here. They're willing to put millions of dollars into this, and we're sitting here fighting about a 100-year flood. People are going to get their feet wet. I'm sorry, it's a lake.
With all due respect to your views, which are perfectly valid, Freedom, through an RSA that talks about projects of regional impact, was given a butter status by this board. And in order to be able to comment as an abutter, which is one of the things that a butter status gives us, we have to have the material that you're considering. That's the point we're trying to make. We haven't had the material, and we need time to review it, and we're asking for some time to review it.
Here's my point. The board bringing the board stands. I'm against it. It's already done while I wasn't here.
You say this is a regional project. Why were we not included when you did Campoy?
Yes. Well, I wasn't on the planning board at the time, so I can't honestly answer that question. But we...
You're asking for more than what we wanted.
Well, you could have, I wasn't there, you could have asked for it and perhaps gotten it. I can't answer the question about what happened. No, we haven't. We
Well,
haven't.
You've been afforded the same voice that any other abutter has been afforded on this project.
We still haven't seen, we haven't been able to review the
Well,
final plans.
You need to come down and get them.
They're not available. I called this today. I looked at some on the DES website, but Laura said they're not available. They were coming tonight.
These folks are asking for still allow these folks to review whatever plans are.
No. Only if we make it conditional in this conditional approval, that they can come back for one more meeting. Which is why I said, don't if come back the first Tuesday.
First, we start on their wells. Can they get started on their wells?
Yeah, they'd be able to start the wells.
They've already been told they could start the wells. They were told they could do the wells 30 days ago.
If I could answer that, again, our concern is there is risk. I'm sorry. There is risk to installing wells, to installing permanent infrastructure for a project that we don't have approval from the town. It's significant investment. So again, we ask you to.
Which was my point on the condition that they could address any concern, Jay.
Yeah.
On the next Tuesday, if we added in the condition, would you be okay with that? They were granted Butters a status.
I'd have to talk to my client.
And then that would solve a lot of problems. It don't mean you get shot down next time, they just get a voice and get it on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have someone in the audience.
Sam Martin, Ossipee resident, two-time selectman, and a 9-year zoning board member, and I am embarrassed by this board. Embarrassed by the rudeness of some of the people on the board. You have held these people up for absolutely nonsense in many instances when they've met everything they needed to meet. They're willing to spend all kinds of money. They're willing to do it right, and you just keep firing stuff. And I said this months ago. You kept doing it, and you're still doing it. I'm mortified to say that this board is my town's board.
Thank you. That is your personal observation. As far as there have been valid concerns, and Dan may or may not agree with me, but there have been valid concerns, and they have been addressed, and it has been an ongoing discussion. It's not like it's being pushed away because they've been addressed. Anyone else from the audience like to speak? Yes.
Susan Hoopland from Freedom. I just have a question on your evacuation plan. Is that a road going to the railroad? Is that emergency access? Or?
Emergency access, yes.
Okay, and when will that be constructed?
At the time that this is constructed.
Prior to the time of that being constructed?
At the same time, as the roads are being cut in, it would also be cut in, because it needs to be cut in to install the septic.
Is there a separate sheet that shows it going out to 16? And do you have permission from the railroad to cross and an access
We don't cross
cut
the
on
railroad.
16?
Yeah, we don't cross the railroad. We're using existing trail coming up the power line and back on to Nichols.
So the total evacuation, you just have two
You need
roads
two
going
access
into one road. The only evacuation is Nichols Road going back out to 16. Okay. The other thing, Connie, Danforth Bay is not in the floodplain at all. I know.
It's on the lake.
Anyway, the other thing I'd caution the board or the town about is in your negotiations and stuff, make sure you take time and get it pinpointed, if this goes through, how the taxes are going to be handled by your tax collector, because we're having a nightmare with the trailers and campers and stuff in Freedom. So take your time and plan that. But the evacuation thing, I think, really should be constructed and in place and usable and accessible by your fire, by any emergency vehicles and stuff. And I think that's your problem secondary to the possible damage.
I believe the fire's already approved it.
If they have keys, whoever needs keys to the gates will have keys when the road is put in. Anyone else from the public? Yes.
Hi, I'm Corey Lane. I had a question for Dan, if you don't mind. It's about the soils, actually, and in the narrative that SFC put out, it says that most of the property is comprised of the Limerick silt loam. Is that correct?
Yes, sure.
4098, which is the Limerick silt loam.
Well, according to the Ossipee ordinance, septic systems aren't allowed on that. Has that been worked in?
The Ossipee ordinances state for commercial use such as this, we use DES lot line. And we far exceed requirement.
With the Ossipee ordinance?
The Ossipee ordinance states that for this use, we have to look at DES.
Okay. All right. Well, you also state that this is good recreational land. And the definition of this silt loam, aside from frequent flooding, is that it has severe limitations for all recreational uses due to prolonged wetness and flood hazard.
Yep. Note that we're developing this area, not this area.
Is that Limerick silt loam as well?
Yes, the wetland areas.
The what? I'm sorry.
You see, the large wetland area here and here, we're staying out of that.
So only the wetland is the limit?
Not really, but there are some pockets.
Do you have a soils map available on request for that?
That's in the plan set.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the public? All right, I'll close it to the public. Back to the board. Comment, Connie?
You people that think we have been delaying this. They came in front of us December 15th for an informal discussion. The next time they appeared before this board was April 5th. June 7th. July 5th. In between those times, they asked for a continuance. So, we're not holding them up. They're holding us up.
I disagree.
We have been working together, one thing. And the continuances have been as a joint effort to allow to get information or permitting or to apply for permitting or whatever. So it has been a joint effort. It has not been one-sided where we are holding them up. And hopefully Dan is agreeable to that, and it's been a fact.
The last meeting we were at was July 19, and that's where we started the Jones and Beach review. And it's taking us until now to come back. We've satisfied Jones and Beach. We've satisfied the wetland permit. Our concern is that we're asked to satisfy things, we satisfy them, and yet here we are.
Yeah. So. But we have not actually physically held you up.
I agree with this.
Does that answer your question?
No, it does not.
All right. Anything else from the board?
I guess the only thing we need to solve, in my opinion, about the butters thing. They're concerned for a continuance. I don't think we need a continuance. I don't know if you want to poll the board or not, see if we ought to, when they do have a butter status, and I think there's an RSA, she already goes with that, whether that we want to ask them to come back on next Tuesday, give them their conditions tonight that they can go, and just add one more condition, they can come back and address any questions I have. That'd be my only thing. I'm not happy with that idea, but I don't know if we have a choice or not. That's my question, I guess.
We reviewed the RSA.
I think Bruce had a question first.
Did you do anything with the conservation?
Yes, you do it.
Easement?
Yeah, the Conservation Commission requested for the entirety of the wetland to be included.
Yes.
We have not. Again, we are keeping the 45 acres in these homes because the wetland, as a wetland, can't be developed anywhere. It's essentially any conservation being a wetland.
The reason they wanted it is because you're gonna add 200 people, which makes you have over 500 people there. And people have been known to wander wherever they darn well please. And after a period of years, the wetlands all of a sudden aren't wet anymore because 500 people have been trampling on them every summer for years. And then you just usurp them because they're not wetlands anymore? Or do you want to put an easement on it and try and keep people from using them?
Again, we proposed an easement along this area, along the bank of the Barron. That's the prime area. That's in protection. This being wetland in this area, we can't develop it. It's wetland.
So I think Bruce's point is that there are a great amount of wildlife species in that area. In fact, it's one of the highest concentrations in the state. And I believe Bruce, you can correct me, Bruce, but you're talking about people going in there and interfering with the lives of the wildlife.
Well, that yes, but his point of it being a wetlands and you can't build on it. So why not put in a conservation easement? What difference does it make to you?
Does the taxpayer?
Doesn't do anything to the taxpayer. The land's in, what do you call it, current use or conservation? It's the same price. It doesn't do anything to the taxes.
It seems reasonable to leave wetland as wetland, because again, you can't develop it. And this went through a very lengthy review process with Fish and Game, and they're satisfied.
Personally, I am too.
I think what you've done with Fish and Game is reasonable, and I have to agree with you as well. I think it should stay the way it is.
If it's considered wetland, I think that's an indefinite term.
I think we're trying to muscle move too hard.
Well,
That's not our job.
It's an indefinite term. It stays wetland, no matter what. Anything else from the board?
What are we going to do to try to move this forward with these folks?
Well, we would give some type of conditional approval so they can start their wells and start their process.
Is there a problem doing it?
Conditional, I don't see it, as long as the conditions are acceptable to the board.
Thing you gotta do, Frank, every condition has gotta be listed in that motion. So if you're gonna give a conditional, that they do this or they do that, it's gotta be in the motion.
That's correct, as far as I'm concerned.
But that's something that's impossible to do.
Well, right now, for starters, we have these 3 conditions, which Dan had mentioned earlier, which should be a part of the motion.
Which is not a problem.
No.
And the only one I had questions about was that the
Butter status.
A butter status thing. We need to list that, and that's to come back the first Tuesday to satisfy any questions they got. I don't change I don't change anything, it just gives them a right to ask questions. I think they need to get moved forward, we need to get this done tonight. Or we just say the hell with it and do the 3 conditions, that's the end of it. Which is basically my opinion, I'm asking the board's opinion and the chairman's opinion.
Let me ask the board if there's any other conditions that they feel ought to be put in besides these, and then we can move forward with the conditional approval. We start over with Bruce.
No comment.
No comment. Dennis?
I have nothing.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I think the 3 conditions are sufficient.
3 and 1 for the butter status?
No
butter status. No butter status?
Need to do that.
Okay. All right.
Just the 3.
Okay, so, Connie? No? Just the 3?
I'd like to hear the 3 again.
Okay. It's the water supply approval after they get the wells done. Second one is the subdivision approval from the state. And the third is the septic approval. Right?
Correct. The water supply approval, again, requires us to drill the wells, get water testing, and get approval from the state for the water system that will be servicing those sites. With that, and the wetland permit and the other permits, it opens up our subdivision application, which approves these sites. And finally, with that subdivision approval in place, which is already at the state, then we can get approvals for the individual septic systems, 1, 2, and 3. And throughout that process, the state has the ability to deny one of those permits for any reason where we don't meet their requirements. Obviously, all the conditional approval goes in.
Does that answer your question, Tom?
I'd like to add a condition that if there are any changes before the New Hampshire DES, that they come in for a final public hearing.
I don't understand. Sorry.
If you change your plan to meet DES requirements.
Like the septic or something like that?
I can almost guarantee there'll be some minor change.
Almost, not good enough.
No, I'm just saying that if, to expect us to come back for like a note change, let's say.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I mean.
No, the system, something to change with the system, I believe. I believe what you're saying, right?
Right, yeah.
Something with the system.
We don't care about the notes,
Right.
if you change the plan itself.
I mean, if there's a significant change to our process, what our intent.
Kind of open-ended, significant.
Layout.
Well, the planning board should have,
If the state changes the plan, I don't have a problem with that. It's got to meet state standards. If they change anything else that has to do with the plan other than what the state does for leach fields or wells, they should come before the board. But if it's only the DES stuff that changes a little bit, that's not a big deal. Because the only thing the state's going to do is make it more strict.
You just, John, please. For the septic systems themselves, being this size system, they must go first before code enforcement, his approval before going to the state. So that is a process.
How much experience do you have with septic systems, Steve?
Good enough.
Large commercial.
have you dealt with systems of this size?
With this type of system, I've
This
installed.
size?
I've installed. No, not this size. I've installed systems.
You can read a plan, you can figure it
He
out.
also has references if he's come across something.
I can give you engineer references. I can give you what you want.
You can.
Well, I don't.
We don't need it, you're code enforcement, that's up to Selectmen. Not us.
Okay. So Rick,
Whatever.
okay, all right.
I think the 3 is fine.
Well, now we're gonna have to use the other.
I need to read exactly what the motion's going to be, it's too much for me to remember.
Right.
So you have to
site plan. So go ahead.
Why don't you make the motion, I'll second it. That way you can read it out right.
All right. I make the motion that we approve, is that the correct wording, Bruce?
Conditionally.
Conditionally approve the site plan submitted per the plan dated
September 20th.
September 20th.
Well,
Skate, up top.
actually, these are all,
Skate.
okay, September 20th, 2016. With the condition, number one, that they get state water supply approval. Condition number two, they get the state subdivision approval. Condition three, that they get the state septic approval. And I'm going to add about the emergency evacuation plan, because that was not really definitive enough.
We didn't put that on there, talking to everybody, there's no need to put that on.
No,
How-
I see no reason for it.
When you polled the board, we didn't put that in there, so you're adding it after the fact.
It's your motion, you can put it in
All
if you
right.
want.
So number three was the septic approval, and to be in compliance with all federal, state, and local ordinances
And regulations.
and regulations, and/or regulations.
I'll second that.
Any comments from the board? Any discussion? Rick? Okay. All those in favor? Okay.
Hold on a second.
All those opposed? Two opposed. Okay, motion passed. Now, all right, now we have to approve the special use permit. Which was submitted. It's actually the special use permit application. Connie makes a motion that we accept it.
I'll second that.
Bruce, did you accept?
Pardon me?
Okay. Did you say second it?
I'll second.
Oh,
It was us two, but he was
Dennis,
first.
okay, I'm sorry. I heard a voice over here.
It was us two, but he is first.
Okay, all right, any discussion on the special use permit application? All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Okay. All yours.
The special use permit, we're applying for this because our sewage volume is greater than 600 gallons per day.
Correct.
Again, we did submit this originally back in March. And this goes into what we've spoken about since the very beginning, which is the septic that we're providing. It's now been reviewed by Jones Beach. So I don't know if any additional information I can give on top of what we've already spoken in the past meetings. We are providing an improvement cancel area, taking the septic off the cancel, moving it far from the lake. We've designed all this, again, as far from the lake as possible. It also talks about stormwater management. We have our alteration of terrain permit. Part of that permit is submitting a stormwater management plan, which has been submitted and approved by DES. And it's on file with the town.
We're okay now. It's been approved, so it's like ready to go forward.
We're all set.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry, I thought you were just accepting it for discussion.
We accept it.
Talk while you walk, you're all set.
Thank you.
We might leave you to talk by yourself.
Ah,
Hold
okay.
on, hold on.
Okay, hold on a
Go
second
ahead.
here. Okay, we accepted the application. Now we have to make a motion for the special use.
We already did it.
We already did it.
Well, no, the application.
Oh, all right, I'll make the motion for set.
Okay, now you got a question. Which matches this?
You can see these permits on the lower left, under HDS permits.
Okay. All right, Connie made a motion that we approve the permit for the subdivision based on the state approval of the permit.
I'll second that.
Of the subdivision, subsurface, and water, which is the same street that we had stated earlier.
Yep.
Okay. To comply with all federal, state, local regulations and ordinance.
Yep. I'll second that.
Okay. Connie made the motion, I spoke for it. Lloyd seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Everybody in favor? None opposed?
Now you're good to go.
Now
you're all set. And good luck.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Plus, they read the paper, say whatever, that's for
They got a copy of it. Last week they got on the city.
Right.
They were given.
You got any more business for the board?
Yes.
I made the copy.
No, yeah, that's why I want.
They never
That's
showed.
why I'm asking. I'll make a motion, it's the hell out of here, it's 4 after 9. It's like there's something.
I agree with you. Okay, we have a item on the agenda, accessory dwelling units. Connie has some items that he would like to submit to the board. We'll bring it up at the next meeting. So, in fact, if everyone would like to look at their information that we had at the previous meeting about that, then we will discuss it at our next meeting.
I'd like to discuss it, modify it a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not sure he's got it yet, I'd like to discuss it.
At our next meeting. Okay. Outdoor event ordinance, the meeting was held on September 12th. But from what I understand, I have not read the ordinance myself, but if Frank, you can correct me if I'm out of line. If it's a nonprofit, they can submit an application to the select board, and the select board will approve it.
They can, and if you're a business and you want to try one event, you can get a temporary event permit, one per year. Now, what happened is in our last public meeting, we had a paragraph in there which some people found offensive, and actually I found it correct. But right now it's being reviewed. They want it removed, and it's being reviewed as we speak by Rick Sager. We have not signed it into place yet. We hope we can do it next Monday. But what it really comes down to is, if you're a business, you want to take, let's just say you want to do something to see if it works, you can get a temporary event permit to go do that. If it's going to work and you want to do it on a continuous basis to build your business, then you come to the planning board for a site plan. But the planning board has to say in it for parking and other matters. We give them one shot. Now, if you're a non-profit, then you get the site plan, the temporary site plan review, the temporary ordinance for a non-profit, like all the site plan reviews for the July or some of those people. they fall under the ordinance more than businesses do. Where's the what? The powwow. Oh, they're a one-time, they're not a profit. We have the caveat in it that says we can give more than one if we deem it necessary.
But even with a for-profit?
No, for profit, we want the for-profits to come before the board for site plan review. At least to update it after one.
After one.
Yes. Because what was trying to happen, what got us into this whole situation is a business that was trying to make a business out of this temporary site plan review, temporary ordinance. Site plan review and ordinance except. But we think, I personally think the planning board ought to have some say. If somebody's going to run an outside event 10 times next summer, they ought to come before the board with what their parking plans are, what their site plans are, what they're going to do. And that's really what this is.
I think it's a Selectmen's job.
Thank you. You can run in March.
You're welcome.
There's always two sides to the story.
Oh, you better believe it. I get so many existing holes now. It gets interesting.
Okay. In your package, you also have the budget report for September. We will be having to come up next month, within the next month, with a firm budget. Now, there's been discussion about upgrading some of the amounts, like the
lawyer things for sure.
Yeah. So, we'll have to.
Or the engineer.
And I think you also need to look at if you want to send more people to training.
Right.
I know there's a couple folks who want to go to training, but the classes, I think, are $600, $700, and you don't have any budget. So if you think you're going to do some training, training is good for everybody, but you need to have it budgeted to go do it.
The thing is, we can budget it. If we don't use it, that's fine. But at least if we put it in there and it's available then for who wants to use it.
I think you can defend both subjects, in my opinion.
Okay. The Sager and Haskell, again, Frank, you had said you would.
I've got that. I'm trying to get educated, to get myself intelligent enough in this whole mess to go figure it out. I will eventually be talking with Sager on that, on the Morse pit. I need more information on it. I'm not smart enough yet.
It's a mess.
Yeah, it's been a mess for years. It's been hanging around for what, 5 years now?
No more. It's hanging around. I started. I've been here 8.
So we need to pull the information together, and I'm in the process. I get tax collector working on stuff. I got the administrator working on stuff, and I'm trying to pull it all together. When I get it all together, I'll go forward with it.
All right. And then you'll let us know what's going on.
Posted, correct.
Okay. All right. I don't understand this next item for Sager. There's a credit of $52.50.
Must have got overpaid.
Admitted it?
Payments received. Anyway, we had a balance.
We don't.
Not we don't, the town does. Yeah, the town does.
Nothing to do with us.
Right.
I don't know, maybe Laura will just give Ellen a call and then ask her just what it means. She's got that pretty much in her memory bank of what she's doing with Sager and what they opened up to.
It could be maybe a mistaken or a crossing of statements. Maybe.
I can't remember all of them. I'm not going to try to.
All right. And the New Hampshire DOT project to do roadway runoff coming from down the hill on 16B.
Your house, Steve.
Next year, 2017.
Yeah. So that's. There is a questionnaire you have to fill out.
Anything else, Steve?
I'll do that.
Just a third house.
I'll fill out the questionnaire and I'll send it to you.
Pardon me?
Change is going to
No.
happen to roads like.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Okay. Is there a second?
Right here.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
State road, nothing to that.
You don't want to go home, Bruce?
I
was going to have a filibuster.
The only thing we do is that something happening on a state road in